It all started as whispers in the gilded halls of Buckingham Palace, barely audible to the public. But in the last 24 hours, these whispers have exploded into a full-blown royal firestorm. Sources close to the palace claim that Princess Anne, the Queen's fiercely independent daughter, has taken the unprecedented step of blocking Camilla Parker Bowles from attending Prince William's coronation. In a monarchy steeped in tradition and ceremony, this move is nothing short of seismic. For decades, the British royal family has walked a delicate line between history and spectacle. The crown has always commanded respect, but in today's age of instant social media outrage, even a minor slip can become a global headline. Now, with tensions running high between William, Camilla, and Anne, the palace finds itself at the center of an unrelenting media storm. Every detail is being dissected, every look, every handshake, every absence. The story begins with the coronation itself, an event that should have been a symbol of unity. Instead, it has become the stage for hidden rivalries, secret resentments, and shocking betrayals. Imagine the grandeur, gilded carriages, centuries-old regalia, and a nation holding its breath as the heir to the throne steps into history. Yet, behind the polished smiles and waving hands, the undercurrents of palace politics are more intense than ever. Why would Princess Anne, known for her no-nonsense attitude and loyalty to protocol, make such a bold move? Sources say her decision stems from long-standing tensions between her and Camilla, coupled with fierce loyalty to William. Anne has always been protective of her nephew, and this latest act is seen by insiders as a warning. Tradition and respect must come first, even in a modern monarchy where the rules are often rewritten. The implications are enormous. Camilla, who has painstakingly built her public persona as a devoted consort, now faces public scrutiny unlike anything she has encountered before. Social media platforms are alight with speculation, memes, and hot takes, dissecting everything from her fashion choices to her place, or absence, at historic events. Meanwhile, royal commentators argue over whether this is a personal vendetta, a statement of principle, or a calculated power move within the family. Yet, this drama is more than just palace intrigue, it's a reflection of a broader truth. The British monarchy, while steeped in centuries of tradition, is under constant pressure from public opinion. Every gesture, every snub, every scandal is amplified on a scale unimaginable even a generation ago. And when it comes to coronations, the stakes are not just personal, they are symbolic of the very continuity of the crown. As the world watches and waits, the question remains, will Camilla eventually find a way back into the public eye for this momentous occasion, or has Princess Anne drawn a line that cannot be crossed? The answer could reshape royal relations for years to come, turning what should have been a celebration into one of the most talked about conflicts in modern monarchy history. There's something almost magnetic about the royal family. Across centuries, they've captivated the world, not just because of crowns or castles, but because of human stories hidden behind opulent facades. From love affairs to secret rivalries, from heartbreaking losses to jaw-dropping scandals, the monarchy offers a glimpse into a world that feels both glamorous and untouchable. And yet, paradoxically, they are deeply human. The public sees glimpses of joy, sorrow, anger, and betrayal. When Princess Diana walked into public view with her warm smile, people saw a reflection of their own struggles, their own hopes, and their own heartbreaks. Today, with William's coronation looming and tensions flaring, the drama of the royals feels immediate and personal, even to those thousands of miles away. Psychologists and cultural experts argue that our obsession with royals stems from more than curiosity, it's about storytelling. Every royal event is a narrative: heroes, villains, triumphs, and betrayals. Social media accelerates this, turning a private family quarrel into a global spectacle. A raised eyebrow at a garden party can spark worldwide headlines. A subtle snub at a ceremony becomes a viral meme. And in cases like Princess Anne's move against Camilla, the stakes are amplified tenfold. It's not just gossip, it's history in motion. Consider this: when Camilla is excluded, it's more than a personal slight. It's a statement about authority, respect, and hierarchy within the family. It's a drama that plays out on a stage far larger than any theater, the world's collective attention. Every royal controversy becomes a lens through which we examine our own ideas about power, loyalty, and justice. That's why royal celebrity channels, tabloids, and documentaries thrive. They're not just reporting, they're curating modern mythology. This obsession is also deeply emotional. Royal stories make us feel connected to a lineage we'll never be part of. For many, it's escapism, the idea that in a world of chaos and uncertainty, there's still a family whose lives are monumental and consequential. But it's also cautionary. The royal struggles remind us that wealth, status, and tradition do not shield anyone from heartbreak, scandal, or betrayal. And make no mistake, the drama unfolding now is more than a footnote. Princess Anne's confrontation with Camilla could redefine perceptions of the monarchy for generations. It's a reminder that the crown is not merely ceremonial, it is a symbol of power, influence, and the tensions that come with maintaining both. Every decision, every exclusion, every whispered insult carries weight, reverberating far beyond palace walls. The royal obsession is about more than gossip. It's about narrative tension, emotional resonance, and history in the making. And the current saga surrounding William, Anne, and Camilla is proving exactly why the world cannot look away. The drama is unfolding in real time, but the stakes feel timeless. After all, what we are witnessing isn't just a family dispute, it's the continuation of centuries-old stories about power, loyalty, and betrayal. The question is no longer just about Camilla's presence at the coronation. It's about how the monarchy will navigate its future under the scrutiny of millions, balancing personal grievances with public expectation. And that brings us to the next chapter, where one woman's legacy changed the very way the world watches royals, Princess Diana, the people's princess who changed everything. There was a time when the royal family existed behind an almost impenetrable wall of mystery. Their lives were carefully controlled, their appearances rare, and their voices almost never heard directly by the public. Kings and queens were not celebrities, they were symbols. Distant, untouchable, almost mythical. But everything began to change with the arrival of cameras. In the early days of television, the monarchy faced a choice: remain hidden behind tradition or step into the modern world. It was a risk unlike any before. Allowing cameras inside royal ceremonies meant exposing centuries-old rituals to ordinary people sitting in their living rooms. Suddenly, the crown was no longer just a symbol on coins or in textbooks, it was alive, visible, and deeply human. This transformation didn't happen overnight. It happened gradually, moment by moment, broadcast by broadcast. Royal weddings became global spectacles. Millions watched as princes married commoners, as queens waved from balconies, as heirs were born into history. These moments created emotional connections. People no longer saw royals as distant rulers, they saw them as personalities. And with personality comes scrutiny. The more visible the royal family became, the more the public wanted to know. Every smile was analyzed. Every silence was questioned. Cameras followed them everywhere. Public ceremonies, charity events, even private vacations. The monarchy had entered a new era, one where visibility was both power and vulnerability. By the time Prince William was born, the royal family was no longer just an institution. It was a global media phenomenon. His childhood was documented from the very beginning. Every milestone, every public appearance, every moment became part of a growing narrative. He wasn't just a future king. He was a public figure before he could even understand what that meant. And Camilla's story unfolded under that same intense spotlight. Her relationship with Charles was not simply a private matter. It became one of the most controversial royal sagas in modern history. Public opinion was divided. Some saw her as a villain. Others saw her as misunderstood. But one thing was certain: her presence changed the dynamics of the royal family forever. This is the paradox of modern royalty. Visibility keeps the monarchy relevant, but it also exposes every flaw, every tension, and every conflict. The same cameras that capture moments of triumph also capture moments of division. Princess Anne understood this better than almost anyone. She grew up before the full force of modern media, but she lived long enough to witness its complete transformation. She saw how cameras could elevate but also how they could destroy. She learned that public perception could shape reality itself. So when Anne reportedly made the decision to block Camilla, it wasn't just a personal act. It was a media event waiting to explode. She knew the world would notice. She knew the headlines would follow. And perhaps most importantly, she knew that in today's royal family, perception is everything. Because in the modern age, the monarchy doesn't just exist in palaces. It exists on screens. It exists in headlines. It exists in the minds of millions who feel personally invested in every royal triumph and every royal betrayal. But no one understood the power of media, and its devastating consequences. More than one woman whose story would forever change the monarchy. Her name would become synonymous with compassion, tragedy, and transformation. And her legacy still shapes everything we see today. Long before today's tensions between Anne, Camilla, and William, there was another royal story. One so powerful, so emotional that it forever changed the monarchy. It began in 1981, when a shy young woman stepped into the global spotlight and unknowingly became the most beloved royal in modern history. Her name was Diana. From the moment she appeared beside Prince Charles, the world was captivated. She wasn't born into the inner circle of royal power, yet she carried herself with a natural warmth that people instantly recognized. She smiled with her eyes. She connected with people in a way that felt genuine, not rehearsed. And that authenticity made her different. But behind the fairy tale was a reality far more complicated. The cameras loved Diana, but they also trapped her. Every gesture, every emotion, every moment of vulnerability was captured and broadcast to millions. She wasn't just living her life. She was performing it whether she wanted to or not. And slowly the pressure began to show. What made Diana extraordinary wasn't just her beauty or her position. It was her courage to break the unwritten rules of royal behavior. She hugged AIDS patients when others were afraid to touch them. She spoke openly about her struggles. She showed emotion in a system built on silence. In doing so, she transformed the monarchy from something distant into something deeply human. The public didn't just admire her, they loved her. They saw her pain. They saw her strength. And they saw her as one of their own. But this connection came at a cost. As her marriage to Charles began to fracture, the world watched every painful moment unfold. And at the center of that fracture was a name that would become impossible to separate from Diana's story: Camilla. The relationship between Charles and Camilla wasn't just a private affair. It became a global scandal. To many, Camilla represented betrayal. To others, she represented a complicated truth about love, duty, and timing. The monarchy faced a crisis unlike anything it had seen before. Public sympathy overwhelmingly sided with Diana. She became more than a princess. She became a symbol of resilience against an unfeeling institution. And in that moment, the balance of power between the palace and the public shifted forever. Then came the unthinkable. In 1997, Diana's life was tragically cut short. The news sent shockwaves across the globe. Millions mourned. Flowers piled up outside palace gates. People cried openly in the streets. It was as if the world had lost someone deeply personal. And in the aftermath, the monarchy faced a painful realization. The public expected more than tradition. They expected emotion. They expected humanity. They expected accountability. For William, Diana's legacy became both a guiding light and a heavy burden. He saw firsthand how love could elevate someone, and how betrayal could destroy them. He witnessed the power of public opinion. He learned that the crown was not just about authority. It was about trust. And perhaps most importantly, he never forgot who stood at the center of his mother's pain. Today, as tensions rise once again and Camilla finds herself at the center of controversy, the shadow of Diana's legacy looms larger than ever. Her story didn't end in 1997. It continues to shape every decision, every relationship, and every conflict within the royal family. Because in the monarchy, the past is never truly gone. It lives on in memory. It lives on in loyalty. And it lives on in moments like this, when old wounds quietly resurface at the worst possible time. Just when the monarchy thought it had survived its most turbulent era, a new storm began to form, one that would shake the royal family to its very core. It started quietly at first, with a modern love story that captured global attention. When Prince Harry introduced the world to Meghan Markle, everything seemed like a fresh beginning. She was different from anyone who had come before. An American actress. Confident. Independent. Unafraid to speak her mind. To millions, Meghan represented a new chapter for the monarchy, a chance to evolve, to become more inclusive, more relatable, and more connected to the modern world. Their wedding was watched by hundreds of millions. It was a moment filled with hope, symbolism, and the promise of transformation. But behind the smiles and celebrations, tensions were already beginning to surface. Royal life came with rules, many of them unspoken. Expectations about behavior, loyalty, and silence. Meghan, unlike those before her, struggled to accept these invisible boundaries. She wasn't willing to disappear behind palace walls. She wanted a voice. And that desire would soon create one of the most explosive royal conflicts in history. Rumors of internal disagreements began to leak. Reports suggested growing distance between Harry and his brother, Prince William. The once inseparable brothers, who had endured unimaginable loss together, were now said to be walking very different paths. Then came the announcement that stunned the world. Harry and Meghan were stepping back from royal duties, stepping back from the institution itself. It was unprecedented. Never before had senior royals voluntarily distanced themselves in such a public and definitive way. The message was clear: Something inside the palace was deeply broken. But the true shockwave came during their explosive interview with Oprah Winfrey. For the first time, the public heard their side of the story: feelings of isolation, lack of support, and emotional pain. The interview shattered the carefully maintained image of unity within Buckingham Palace. Suddenly, the monarchy was no longer just facing whispers of conflict, it was facing open confrontation. The public was divided. Some saw Harry and Meghan as brave truth-tellers. Others saw them as disloyal. But regardless of opinion, one fact was undeniable: the monarchy's internal struggles were now fully visible to the world. And for those still inside the palace, the consequences were profound. Trust had been fractured. Relationships had been strained. And the delicate balance between tradition and change had been pushed to its limits. For figures like Princess Anne and Camilla, who had spent decades navigating royal expectations, this new era brought uncertainty. The rules that once governed royal life were no longer absolute. Loyalty was no longer guaranteed. And now, with William preparing for his future coronation and reportedly taking bold action to protect the monarchy's integrity, the echoes of Harry and Meghan's departure still linger. Because their exit didn't just change their own lives. It changed the monarchy forever. It exposed vulnerabilities. It revealed fractures. And it proved that even the most powerful institution in the world could be shaken from within. But what remains hidden behind palace walls may be even more shocking than what the public already knows.